Thank you very much. Thank you. And hello.
Hello, everybody. It's Matthew Street, and welcome to my channel. As always, I truly appreciate you being there. And my friends, I need to talk about something that's been on my mind, and I need to get your input on this to maybe help me through it or give me your advice. Can the Beatles do something they've done over and over again for 60 plus years? They've done it. Can they do it one more time? Their effect on our culture in general, their effect on pop culture, their effect on music culture. Time and time again, the Beatles have been there for us. They have united us. They have brought us together. But folks, I don't know. We live in a world in 2025 where we are fragmented as a culture more than ever. We are no longer sharing experiences together. We are very disjointed. We are going in a million different directions as to what we are focused on and interested in. I'm afraid the days of us all being united into one common cause, into one thing, may be gone. Now, hear me out. Now, I know as Beatles fans, we are united. We know Anthology 2025 is coming next month. We know, because we stay in tune with it, we are involved in the world of the Beatles. We know that the book has just been released for Anthology. We know that the revamped and revised television special with an extra episode is coming next month on Disney+. We know that the 3-volume audio set, hopefully remastered or maybe remixed in some cases, we know that's coming along with a volume 4 for the first time ever next month, which will have at least 13 unheard tracks on it, with a remixed Free as a Bird, with a remixed Real Love, and Now and Then included as well on volume 4. We know this because we are involved in the culture of the Beatles together as a team, right? But folks, it doesn't seem, for me anyway, being an old fogey, it doesn't seem like that long ago where everybody in our world, in society, was aware of the Beatles and what they were doing and what was happening. And maybe you're not old enough to remember this, but back when the Beatles first came on the scene here in America in 1964, and they were on the Ed Sullivan Show, and Meet the Beatles was coming out, and I Want to Hold Your Hand was released as a single here in America, I'm talking now. Everybody from every walk of life, every generation, yeah, there were generation gaps. You know, the old people liked what they liked, the younger people liked what they liked, the teens liked what they liked, the 20-somethings like, you know, people had their own interest in things from, you know, each era or age group, as it were, generation. But the generation gap wasn't so divided when it came to big, significant cultural, musical, or pop culture moments. February 9th, 1964, 73 million people in our country, United States, tuned in to the Ed Sullivan Show on that Sunday night to see the Beatles on that stage. I was one of them. But it wasn't just me, folks, as that young Beatle fan. No. My parents were invested in it, and they were in their early 30s. My aunts and uncles were invested in it, and they were in their mid to late 30s. My grandparents, my maternal grandparents at the time were 68 and 61 years old, respectively, my grandmother and grandfather, immigrants from Italy who came here in the early 20th century, they knew what was happening with the arrival of the Beatles. My paternal grandmother was at the time like 62 years old. She was aware of the Beatles and what was happening. This was a big cultural event shared by society in general. Everybody. You may not have liked the Beatles. You may not have given a crap about the Beatles, but boy, you knew about them. You knew they were coming to America. You knew they were going to be on Ed Sullivan. You knew you couldn't escape hearing I Want to Hold Your Hand somewhere, whether it was in a store or on the television or on a radio station. Back then, radio was king. Radio was big. You couldn't escape it. You couldn't escape Meet the Beatles being sold in department stores and music stores and record stores. It was everywhere. And whether you were young or old or a small child like I was, you knew about it. You were aware of it. You were participating in an event with every other person in your culture, in your society, from young to old. You were all part of it. You all felt part of it, whether you liked it or didn't, or were too old or too young or right at the prime age, you were aware of it. We don't have that anymore, folks. We just don't have that nowadays because so many things have changed. And it changed about, I want to say in the late 90s, I'm guessing. Help me out here, correct me if you're wrong, give me your input. Let's go back a bit. Because from when the Beatles got here in 64, right up into the 90s, almost to the late 90s, events were shared experiences by all of us when it came to the Beatles. And not just the hardcore Beatle fans, even the non-fans, even kids and guys and gals you went to high school with or middle school with or elementary school with. They may not have been fans of the Beatles. They may have picked on you for liking the Beatles, but boy, they were aware of the Beatles and they knew what was happening with the Beatles. When those movies came out, A Hard Day's Night, Help, Yellow Submarine, even Let It Be in 1970, they may not have wanted to go, they may not have cared, or maybe they did, they were all into it, but everybody knew about it. We've shared it all. When the Beatles broke up, it was big news. Everybody shared in it. My grandparents knew they broke up. My parents knew they broke up, and obviously my peers did. In the 70s, when the Beatles would release solo singles, you may not have been a fan of Paul McCartney, listen to what the man said, but boy, you heard it. You knew about it because it was limited where the source was coming from to hear this material. There was no, well, I'm going to get into what there was no of back then. You knew of it. You may not have been a fan, but you knew of it. And if you were a fan, you heard it. You could hear it. You could call up your local radio station and request it. You could go buy the album, the cassette, the 8-track tape. You knew about it. The same with John. Whatever gets you through the night. You may not have been a fan of it. I was. But you heard it. It was all over the place. Everyone knew about it. Kids in school were talking about the new John Lennon album, the new Paul McCartney album, the new Ringo single, the new George Harrison thing. You knew about it. Whether you were a fan, a big hardcore fan, jazzed up about it, or if you were someone who was in the middle, I don't care about the Beatles or the solo Beatles, or if you were a non-fan, that's fine, but you knew about it. You were aware of it. And I think the last time we all knew of this kind of stuff, like everybody, a Beatle event happened where everybody, not just the Beatle fans, everybody was into it, was the Anthology back in 1995. Who remembers that? 30 years ago. I sure do. When the Anthology came out 30 years ago, everyone knew about it. Whether you were a Beatle fan or not, you were aware that something big was happening. You knew that on ABC TV there was going to be a special over multiple nights. You may not have wanted to watch it, but you knew it was happening. It was a big deal. Cable was big by then. I mean, back in the Ed Sullivan days, there was 3 channels, the major networks, and maybe UHF. By the 90s, 95, the cable was prominent, had been around for 12 or 15 years, but it was still a big deal that ABC, one of the major networks, was showing the Beatles Anthology. Everyone knew about it. People I worked with were talking about it. Even if they weren't going to watch it, they were talking about it. They knew that albums with new unreleased material were coming out on a particular date with that volume 1. And I went to Tower Records and stood in line. My dad, God bless him, brought me or came for the ride with me to Boston so I could stand in line at Tower Records in Boston and get Anthology 1 at midnight. And he sat in the car across the street listening to the radio, whatever he was doing. But bless you, Dad, for doing that with me. Gave me some company, someone I could go with that night. But everyone knew when I got in that line at Tower Records, it was outside, down the block, around the corner, people waiting to get Anthology 1. We were sharing a cultural moment in time that I don't think will ever be recreated again, folks. Everyone was into it. Everyone was excited about it. Free as a bird, whether people that loved it, like I did, most of us did, right? Or the people that didn't even like it, didn't even care about it, but they talked about it. They knew about it. I'd go to work and I'd have the people that said they liked it, they heard it, they were like, man, on the Beatles, but they liked it. I had people that told me it stinks. Matt, it stinks. I don't like it. It stinks. Just negativity, But they knew about it. They listened to it. They wanted to hear it because it was a big musical, cultural moment. Everyone was aware. Everyone felt part of it. It had mass attention. We were experiencing it together, whether we liked it or didn't like it or loved it like we do. We experienced it together because it was a big cultural experience. A moment. Everyone knew that it was happening and it was a big deal. But things have changed since, folks. Since the Anthology in 1995, it's changed. And that's why I'm hoping and I'm looking for your encouragement. Can they do it again? The Beatles do it again. Can they pull it off again with Anthology 2025? And the new special being revamped, coming out again with a new Volume 4. Can they grab the masses' attention? I don't think so. I don't think it's going to be as widespread as it was several decades ago. Because, folks, when file sharing happened in the late 90s, I think Napster, remember Napster came out in 1999 or so, and people had little nanos and iPods devices where they could plug little from their computer songs into their system or steal it from Napster and stream it and listen to it with their little headbuds. Now, everything wasn't a shared experience like, hey, did you hear it? I Want to Hold Your Hand on the radio last night? Or, hey, did you hear Free as a Bird on the local FM rock station? No, late 90s, early 2000s came and now everything we were all closed off from one another. Everyone's doing their own thing. Got your little iPod, you're putting in there what you want. You got your Napster, you're taking the files you want, ignoring the files you don't. You're not even listening to entire albums, you're just picking songs, file sharing. And then, of course, a few years later, around 2008, 2009, when the iPhone 1 was introduced, well, now that's your iPod and everything and your TV and everything all in one device now with the iPhone or the smartphones, whatever you want to call them. And then social media blew up. And YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and this and that. Everyone's doing their own thing now. They're not all focusing on Anthology. Like that night in 1995 when that was coming on ABC, the world focused on it. And even more so in 64 on when they came on Ed Sullivan, the world was focused on it. 73 million. You're not seeing that nowadays, folks, because music, I think, the shared experience of music and the joy of something coming out or something new coming out and everyone being excited about it together as like one big united team, I think that's gone now. Music that shared experience of music has started to die if it's not already dead. It's like the shared culture is gone of music. It's just not there anymore. And I'm just hoping and praying that with Anthology 2025 coming out next month, with the book now just released, redone, not redone, but reissued, and you got the new Anthology 4 coming out with hopefully revamped volumes 1, 2, 3 audio, new tracks, remix Free as a Bird, remix Real Love, Now and Then, the special coming on Disney Plus, new episode. It's all exciting for us Beatles fans. We're aware of it. We're on top of it. We're part of the culture. But I miss the days when everybody was part of that culture, that Beatles culture, that music culture, pop culture. I miss that, folks. I really do. I miss the days when an event like Ed Sullivan, the Beatles, happened, or the Anthology in 1995 happened, and everybody was aware of it. Everyone knew about it, whether they liked it or didn't like it. They were invested in it somehow because it was there for them. You couldn't escape it. It was just part of our world. And now, as I said, we're fragmented. We're divided. We're disjointed. You know, everyone's doing their own thing. Can it ever be brought back? I don't know. But I'm just asking the question, can the Beatles do it one more time with the anthology? Can they do it? Can they get everybody invested? They did it a little bit. I just want one last thing. A few years ago, when Now and Then came out, we saw a little glimmer of that. If you missed it in 1995 when the original anthology came out, that was unbelievable, the amount of just shared experience we had in 1995. If you were around, which you probably were if you're watching this, when Now and Then was released, remember? And like all the different radio stations were playing it, and Sirius was going to play it all around the same time on that particular day it was released. That was nothing. That was something. That was a glimmer. That was a sliver of what we saw back in the day, in the 60s when the Beatles did something big, or what in 1995 when the anthology came out, you saw a glimmer of that when Now and Then was released a few years ago, when it was kind of a shared experience, but not as widespread as it was years ago. Do you know what I'm saying? See if you agree with me on that. But I'm hoping maybe, similar to Now and Then, with this anthology next month, we can get a little excited about it and maybe try to help, as Beatle fans, share it with others, the excitement of this thing happening next month, and maybe we can build that shared experience up a little more. Maybe we can lift it up a little higher than it would have been with our excitement and with our sharing and with our trying to become more or less fragmented than we are now with others. Reach out to your friends, your old classmates, your old buddies, people that maybe you don't get in touch with every day, and let them know, hey, the Beatles Anthology is coming. Going to be, it may work, folks. Maybe we, the Beatles, can do it one more time. Maybe the Beatles can bring us together one more time. What do you think? Love you all. Bye-bye.
I got blisters on my fingers!